Welcome back to Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast. Today, I'm so excited to be collaborating with Andrew Martinez of the Lone Star Lawn Talk podcast. Now, Andrew's a great guy. He's been in the industry for a long time, and he has a great podcast. So if you haven't checked it out, again, it's the Lone Star Lawn Talk podcast. He has some amazing guests on there, so definitely go check it out. Now, today, Andrew and I are going to be talking about something that I haven't come across in the landscaping industry as far as being discussed on the podcast. Perhaps it is, I just haven't listened to all the episodes, but today we are going to be talking about whether it's time to really consider throwing in the towel. Is it time to close up shop or take a break? Andrew and I are going to throw some ideas back and forth and share with you some of our thoughts on when is it time to really consider it, or is it time to actually dig in and go full bore in your landscape industry? So definitely don't miss today's episode. Stick around after a word from our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Busy Busy. Busy Busy is so simple to use, and it's the most reliable GPS time tracking app on the market. And the best part is, it was built for landscapers. Busy Busy's founder created Busy Busy because he owns multiple construction companies and needed to understand better which projects were making him money and which projects were killing him. Payroll is the highest variable cost in the project, so you better be tracking it. Busy Busy does this better than anyone else. So download Busy Busy today, and don't forget to mention the Million Dollar Landscaper podcast to get 3 free months.
We want to take a quick second to tell you about our friends over at Cycle CPA. I can't even express to you how important it is to have a good accountant on your side. You know you want accurate bookkeeping and financial statements every month. Instead, you're often left with limited time to focus on the accounting side of your business and no reports to show for it. At Cycle CPA, the landscaping accountants, they not only handle the bookkeeping, but also provide landscape industry benchmarking, job costing, financials by service line, advisory meetings, and much more. Cycle CPA has a team of landscaping accountants available to provide anything from bookkeeping to CFO services. Visit cyclecpa.com, and for $100 off, mention the Million Dollar Landscaper podcast.
Welcome back to the Million Dollar Landscaper podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have on another podcasting host, Andrew Martinez. He is the host of the Lone Star Lawn Talk, and he also owns the Southern Suns Landscape Management. So welcome, Andrew. Thanks for being on the show today.
My pleasure, man. I appreciate being on. I normally am the one doing this, but this is kind of nice being in the passenger seat for once.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to butcher up your name there. It's Lone Star Lawn Talk. So make sure you guys go check it out.
All the time. I do it for my guests. I do it for me. It is what it is. You're not human if you don't butcher things once in a while.
There you go. So, Andrew, you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the industry, and share a little bit about your podcast too?
Absolutely. Well, I'll start with the lawn and landscape side. So I'm kind of one of the traditional stories out there. I used to do this back in the day. When I say back in the day, 25 years ago when I was in high school, I used to mow lawns, do little outdoor projects, things for the neighbors. I used to do all that, probably like a lot of other guys that's maybe now full-time doing it and just kind of dabbled in it. I called it at the time paintball and girlfriend money, So, because I was a teenager and all that. So that's where all my money went. Yep. And that's where I kind of got the knack for it. I did all my stuff there at the house, hung Christmas lights there at the house for my mom and dad, and did little things around the neighborhood for churchgoers I was going to at the time, and other neighbors there. Had a couple little ma and pa shops. I would just go mow a strip of grass for them on the boulevard or something, And then I got away from it for a while. I grew up, I guess, tried to grow up. I don't know if I'm actually grown up. I don't know, but then I didn't get back into it. To make a longer story short, potentially long story short, I wound up getting back into it when in the early stages of my marriage, when we found out we were pregnant with our first child. And that was back in 2010 is when I finally kicked it off, got my DBA, got a bank account, got all the good stuff. And I souped up my parents' unused minivan and just used what I could and hit the pavement, man, hit the turf, Nice. And I've been doing that ever since. So I always like to refer to however old my firstborn is, that plus 6-8 months is how old my business is. So we're going on 13 seasons now.
Congratulations. That's awesome. I love hearing
Appreciate
these stories, and I love hearing how people get started, and you're, in a minivan. That's awesome.
I don't know if you've heard, but a lot of people refer to, guys around, low ballers and stuff, and things like people who don't know their value or worth. Let's say that. Call them Chucks in the trucks and Rick's lawn care. Not. If your name's Rick, sorry out there. I'm just joking. But it's just a little pun, people, for that kind of. I wasn't really that. I'll call myself a Chuck in the minivan. I wasn't really Chuck in the truck, so I kind of made it worse.
Nice,
So
nice. I remember going back when my father started the business. We grew up. I grew up on a farm, so he had a pickup truck, and we did lawns. And literally, it was like a little bitty rototiller. It just had a couple little tines on it, and we'd spend all day just like rotilling these yards and raking and shoveling in the back of the truck. Like it was miserable. I hated doing it.
wow, that's a
I
lot of
literally,
work.
yeah, oh yeah.
Whew.
My mom hated it because it was tearing up her lawn or her rototiller and everything. But oh yeah, we all start off small and work our way up from something. So I think it's
Man,
awesome to hear other people's stories.
yeah, it is interesting, and that's a lot of reason why I even like backtracking a little bit what you're saying about the podcast. I mean, I've been in the business for many years, but there's kind of been a wave of podcasting, social media, and all this has kind of hit the green industry, and I didn't jump on really until I guess it's going to be a year here in January. So 2022 in January is when I kicked off, and that's what I like. I like listening to, running into and learning from professionals like yourself and what y'all got going on, and friends in the community and people abroad, in other
Mhm.
parts of the state, and stories like you said. And sometimes if because you have a little headset on and a mixer board, people will open up to you a little bit more than if you just kind of sat down and had a beer with them. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
it's interesting. It's like, dude, I'm just like you. I just got one piece of equipment. That's all.
Yep.
So, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I too enjoy that experience of
Mhm.
stories and what people, how the origins of how it was all put together, what the story was up to the point and they're at. No, I agree with you, man.
Yeah, everybody, for the most part, I think most of us start off, as that tiny guy that starts off just push the mower or,
Hmm.
little rototiller, whatever it is, in the back of a minivan, and you just work
Yeah,
your way up. And that's what I love about this industry. It's fairly simple to get started in it, and the sky's the limit in what you want to do in it, which I think is
true.
great.
It's fact,
But
man.
but today we want to talk about kind of the opposite side of that. You've been busting your tail and, just things just don't seem to be going right. And, sometimes you start contemplating, do I just throw in the towel? Do I just give it up? I've been working so hard. Things just aren't clicking. Things aren't happening. But we wanted to kind of talk about, is it time to start thinking about that and considering throwing your towel? Is that something that you've ever contemplated in your business?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Several times. I'd say the first 5 years of my business, while things were kind of coming together, there was growth year to year, but not the growth that I expected or really wanted. And I just wasn't being realistic. Now that I look back on it, I don't think I was being realistic. I wanted the universe, and although I was pretty darn close to the moon, I wanted the universe kind of thing, right? I think a lot of people just have like that, romantic outlook on their endeavor that they start in on, an idea of that. And if it takes, 4 or 5 years and you don't see much going on, you don't stop and smell the roses, you can get kind of frustrated. So I think the first 5 years is when I first thought about it. I have a good friend of mine. We went into business together. We're still good friends. So praise the good Lord for that. But we when we split, our business was in pretty bad shape. I think as we were talking about stuff, trying to get set up for our interview, I kind of told you a little bit about that, and I was thinking about closing up shop then. And then there's just been maybe one or two conversations or ideas. I don't think I was ever really gonna do it, but it crossed my mind, and it's like, man, what would I have to start all over in something else? I don't have a nest egg to get started, and I'll never forget um, Jonathan Potoshnik with Lawn Care Millionaire, just like you. He he I learned this from him 10 years ago. I mean, people saying, "Oh, wanting to sell off their businesses, you got to be careful." People want to get out of it. Be careful because if it was successful and it was being ran the way that it was supposed to, they wouldn't be selling it off. They'd have it as I guess as a cash cow, I guess you could say. And so I just kind of a combination of all that. I just kind of kept that in mind. I never really walked away from it. And that just kind of proposed a question over the years, a solid question. I've asked people from time to time. You always see these little memes of, you keep going even though it seems like, you're not making any progress. You never know when your break is around the corner, and there's a cute picture there. But then also you hear, if you're spinning your wheels, throw in the towel. So what do you do? So I just thought that was I've always wondered that. And yeah, I've always contemplated doing, not always, those few times, forgive me, I got stage right there. Um, those few times, I think, is the times where in those seasons, I would ask myself that. I would entertain that idea. Yeah. What about yourself and
Uh,
in y'all's operations? Have you ever, because I know you have a family operation, did y'all ever,
oh
run
yeah,
into, asking questions about that?
yeah, absolutely. Really early on, and I don't remember exact, excuse me, year. I know we started our business in '88, and I don't know exactly, but remember like 3 or 4 years into the business, and I was still in high school at this time. Um, I remember my mom and dad just, they were just arguing and fighting, and I just happened to walk in one time, and they're just talking about closing out the business. Um, they're having some serious issues, having, getting money collected and just finding work and all, the usual things
Mm-hmm.
that come across in this
Oh yeah.
business. And I remember then they finally talked to one of our family relatives that was a serial entrepreneur, and they actually had a good conversation with him. Excuse me. And he actually sat down with my parents and started kind of giving some ideas and some different thoughts on how to handle things. And he actually gave my parents a loan at that time to kind of help us out and get us through.
Wow.
And yeah, I remember them having a serious conversation about it, just because it's difficult. We deal with a lot. We deal with people don't want to pay. Of course, employees and just everything that goes in it. And I hear, everybody's talking about employees are so hard nowadays. I mean, it's always been hard. I mean, it's been a little bit more, difficult now, but it's always been difficult. But yeah, we've done it a couple times. We've also had a partner. My dad started we started a nursery. He partnered up with somebody. I actually went to work for that division for a while. And yeah, we ran into some issues with that. And we actually closed that part up and then just consolidated just to the landscaping and lawn maintenance side. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's been a few times, and I think I would venture to say most people in this business at one point or another have kind of questioned things, whether they should have done it or should have shut the shop up. But I think it's an interesting topic to bring up today.
Yeah, I've always wondered that, and kind of looking back on something that you said, just laced throughout your experience and with your parents and with you when in your own endeavor with your father and all. It's all the same stuff though. People wanting to close up shop, stuff that I dealt with, stuff that you dealt with. I'm sure thousands of other entrepreneurs out there um, deal with. It's numbers, people not paying. It's nothing unique.
No.
so, so it's like it's just a matter of getting your ducks in a row. And
Mhm.
sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And I think that's what probably helps lead to a lot of possibly thinking about throwing in the rag kind of deal. But most definitely, there was times in your business, and I know for me, I'm talking about myself. Well, it's like if I keep doing this same thing, it'll be inevitable. I'll have to
Mhm.
close shop, and even worse, I might even have to file bankruptcy. But if I can change it, maybe we don't have to close up shop. So for me, I've kind of was in that space as well, kind of optimistically trying to keep the thing going. And then here we are. I mean, we're not a huge 7-figure business or anything, but I mean, bills are being paid. We can go on vacation, and I can get my kids candy on impulse buy in the aisles once in a while.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when my wife really came into the business, we started really taking a look at our numbers and everything. And, we started really diving into it. And, for the most part, I was just out in the field working as a foreman and doing things. And then my dad promoted me to the, to vice president and, moved me up into sales and stuff. and just really taking a look at things, and it's like, holy cow, we have to make a change in the way we're pricing and what we're doing, because we don't have the money there to pay for my wife now and pay for me and everything, just to be not necessarily in the field working. And yeah, some of those things like start popping up, some of these questions like, man, did I make the right choice here? Should we brought my wife on? Those types of things start coming about. But me myself, I'm a bit stubborn. My wife will probably attest that many times over. But I grew up
Most
with the
of us
mindset.
are.
Yeah. Well, I grew up with the mindset, and my parents, my grandfather always teach me, winners don't quit and quitters don't win. And that's just kind of how I was. And I would try to stick it through. And sometimes it's like, man, should I have stuck some things through? And I've started my other personal businesses too. I've had a computer repair business and emergency
Oh, that's
light
cool.
installation business and stuff. So I've had some of those things, and I did quit some of those. Um, just because it just wasn't working out. And I didn't have the heart or passion into it as I did the landscaping. So it made it harder. And that's something I wanted to kind of discuss today, but I just didn't have the passion for it. So I just didn't feel the need to continue going. And, we were doing all right, but we weren't making the money really to keep that drive there for me to continue it on. So
Well,
it's
that I'd
definitely
like to,
easy.
if you don't mind, I'd like to spend a couple minutes on that because that was you were in that spot. So you have a business that you continued on, that you've potentially thought about something about walking away, but then you have had businesses that you
Mhm.
just
Yep,
close shop on.
yep.
Can I ask you what led you to close? Because I mean, those seem like pretty lucrative businesses. I mean, I see other people around. I mean, I see people all around town with shops like that, and they're doing well. What caused you to close up shop on those? Was it like you said? Was it art? Was it just disinterest and passion and all that, or was it kind of a combination of everything?
A little combination of both. It was a friend of mine. We started the business up, and he was really good at computers. I actually went to school for computer networking. That's what I have a degree in. But
Cool.
we started doing things, and it was going all right. We had some good contracts and stuff, but it was just very hard for me to find the time to go between my other full-time job and this, and
Uh,
and it was too much. And I didn't really want to get to the point where my friend and I were, battling it out, and I didn't want it to get to that point. I didn't want to, because going back to my father and mother, I remember them like literally yelling at each other, and I did not want that to happen to my friend and I.
yeah.
So we started looking at things, and we called it quits. We probably could have kept it going if I really wanted to, but it's just the passion wasn't there for me, and it
The
wasn't.
other element wasn't there to keep
Yeah,
the kerosene in the lamp just wasn't there like on
ex-
your other venture. Okay, I get it.
exactly, exactly. And to me, I could vision a future in the landscaping side. I just couldn't do it in the business side. I was excited at first. Everybody, gets started, and you're excited about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But as it just went on, it's just like, man, I don't really want to do this for the rest of my life, and we just decided to close up shop, and everybody parted ways fine, and um, we didn't come out no millionaires or anything like that, but it just wasn't there. Um, and
Gotcha.
it was just the time dedication wasn't available for myself either. So we just called it quits. And it was a company called RitTech. We quit that, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago. So yeah, I mean, it's cool, but it's one of those things that just, if you don't have the passion, you don't have the drive. And this
Right.
is something I see like many landscapers. If you don't have the passion, you don't have the drive for it, may not be what you want to continue doing, just because your heart's not going to be in it. You don't
Yeah.
have the desire to get up in the morning to go do whatever you got to do. So that was probably the main reason why I quit, though.
Gotcha. Because I know for me, well, that's interesting. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't mean to. I'm not trying to take the steering wheel, but I
Oh
had
no,
just
no, you're
when
good.
that when that question popped up, I just had to know. I just had to ask you for selfish purposes. I was like, oh
Yeah,
man. So I'm sure there's other guys out there that can benefit from that. I just wanted, because I mean, you've been through it. Then
yeah,
you've personally experienced both considering locking up, and locking up. But I guess for me, what I take away from that is the passion wasn't there. I mean, it was
mhm,
fun, but it's like this other one's funner. So
yeah,
I'm gonna have to cut this one off and just dedicate my other time and resource to this one to
yeah,
improve. I guess kind of like the it's kind of like the like what I like to call the in and out burger effect, burger fry shakes. That's all they do. And they might throw something in here once in a while, but then it never sticks around because it just doesn't, you're too passionate about the burgers, fries, and steaks.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
oh
And
man.
we've come across, just in our academy, we've come across people that have come to us because they've been on the brink of just, they're ready to throw in the towel. Like, I've literally had clients um, that were crying about things. And so I had to, stop and, okay, let's talk about this a little bit further. Is this something that you want to continue doing? If you're at this point, to me, you're at this point of, you're crying about this,
Yeah.
then we need to have a serious conversation. Is this something that you want to continue? Again, it goes back to me, was the passion there? Did you have the drive to keep pushing forward? Was it, stressing out your relationship, whatever it is, we need to
Yeah.
discuss it. And, after talking to him, they still had the drive. So, okay, well, let's look at what we can do to make some serious changes in your business. But to me, if the passion's not there, you're not gonna have the drive to make the change and put in the work that you need to do to turn around your business. So,
True. I've heard from successful people that a lot of business you shouldn't be passionful about. As long as they're profitable and making money and you're not wanting to pull your hair out, right? You
yeah,
can definitely use different vehicles of business for cash flow and for investment, retirement, or whatever, even if you're not passionate about it or you don't have that drive, but it's not pushing against you, like maybe like what situation all of us in the green industry find ourselves in, between just number one, being out there in the elements and killing and bleeding and sweating. Then you got to go look at your, negative bank account, and then people aren't paying, and then all that other stuff. But if you have the passion there, you'll find a way around it. You'll find professionals and to invest in themselves, like what, an operation you got running there. This wasn't around necessarily even 10 years ago, but it industry specific, right?
yep, yep,
But
no,
I think, like, I just think that's kind of the main deal there is passion, because if you have that drive, you'll eventually find a way out of it. Maybe not. I don't know. Could be different for some people, but
no, I agree 100% there. And I think what I found with a few people that have come to me at that point was they were just burned out. And I think there's a difference between burned out and not having a passion. And I think, it's easy to get burned out in this industry. And like you said, especially if you're the
yeah,
one that's out there busting your butt all day long, and then you have to come back and deal with, estimates and calling customers and collecting money and all, employees not showing up. It just adds on and, it just builds up, I should say. And, you get in this mental state, I think, of just, I'll work harder, I'll drive, I'll do more and harder, and I'll make it. It'll happen. I'll get that next big job and it'll happen. It'll turn around. But it doesn't. It's one
it
of those things.
doesn't.
And this is something I can attest to, is like, I'm just going to work harder, harder, harder. And I literally worked myself to the point I had it was, like a stress rash on my back. It was,
Oh
I
my
can't
gosh,
remember the name
really?
of it, but it was like an upside down Christmas tree. It
Oh
started
yeah.
forming because I just work,
Oh
work, work.
man.
And I started getting migraines. I couldn't see. But you get in that thing where you just get burned out and you have to stop and take a break. You have to literally, I don't care if it's just, and lock yourself in the house, for a day or two. Just, you have to take a break. And burnout is a very real thing in this industry. And I'm sure you've
I'll
come
second
across.
that. Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you. I was gonna say, came prematurely on that one, but yeah, I second you on that. I'll get burned out a couple times a year, but I
Yep.
know now, and I'm just gonna keep going back to that. I'm gonna keep paraphrasing the passion thing, because you brought up a good point there. I think that really kind of defines it. I'm passionate about what I do. I enjoy what I do. Every element of it up to this point, this long being in it. So now I can come. I know that burnout's coming, but I know how to circumvent it. I know, okay, it's time for a family getaway. Okay,
Mhm.
now it's time for just me to it's gonna sound funny. Just gonna spend a few days Netflix and chilling. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
hanging out. Getting away, getting down, and you got to know you. But if you're not passionate, you don't have that drive and care to, okay, how am I going to dig out of this, or how am I
Mhm.
gonna work through this time in this season of burnout. I mean, it's a regular thing. It's not just green industry. I mean, you probably experienced
Uh,
that in your partners and everybody and the tech
Oh yeah.
side. I mean,
Oh yeah. No, and it's anywhere. I just think it's, well, maybe just because I've been in the industry so much,
yeah,
but I really see it like you've been working all season long, and then come, October, September, October, November, you're just like, I'm done. I'm ready for a break. I'm ready for it like in our
yeah.
area, snow, and
It's
just,
almost there. It's almost
yeah,
there. Oh,
yeah, we almost made
yeah,
it through. But I find that you need to, again, just stop during, June, May, June. I understand, you got all these estimates coming in and quotes you have to get done, but you really just take even a Sunday off, and do not answer the phone. Do not look at your email, do whatever it is, just take a break. And what you find is that
yeah,
your brain has time to relax and process everything that's going on. And then all of a sudden those ideas start popping, at least me,
yes.
that's how it is. And ideas start popping. Oh, I can do this. Oh, I need to do this. I
Yep.
need to get this set up. And this is something my wife deals with. She's an idea person, and she'll come to me and like, hey, let's start talking about this. I'm like, hold on, stop. Write those ideas down. Let me finish what I'm working on. I'm like, I'm very focused person. I get going, I do this. But again, it doesn't happen if you're still in it and just driving, working. You have to take that time off. I can't stress that enough. I know you think it's the opposite, that you just got to work harder. I'm telling you, it's not. It doesn't work that way. Life
Do
is not
you
that way. And you
do you
start
run
looking at
into?
any industry experts, it's that way.
Wow, I'm sorry I kept cutting you off. Do you run into that with the people that are on the academy? Do you tell them that same thing? And if you do,
Mhm.
what's the response there? Because I would think that someone trying to save the business and being optimistic about it would take that all. So basically, you're telling me I just need to chill out for a little bit and rest
Yeah,
and regroup. And unless you like are going downhill and you should have filed bankruptcy like yesterday, which I hope you wouldn't. I'm just kind of using that as a pitch, but
yeah, no, you're right. And every circumstance is different. But I can tell you, the one person that came to me, they broke down in tears.
wow.
They've been in the academy for about, I don't quote me on this, but probably a little over a year right now. And they're at the point now that they are actually taking Mondays off. They work Tuesday through Friday, sometimes Saturdays, to do estimates, but they take off Sunday and Monday. And
Okay.
they have found that they are actually much more relaxed and can focus whatever they got to do on their job.
Mm,
But they had to take some time to get stuff set up so their crews can work on Monday. Their business is still operating, but they found themselves, doing a kind of 180 just because they needed that time to relax.
wow.
And it's a very, very hard thing to deal with, and I think many of us can just contest to it. And it's a real thing, and I just feel that you really have to step back and just take some time to yourself. And even if you have to go drive in a car or truck, whatever it is, just to kind of chill out. I like, that's how I used to chill out. I remember just getting in the truck and just drive, and just turn on the radio, crank up whatever tunes you have that you like, and just, to me, it just kind of, things just kind of melt away. But
Let your mind rest for a while.
yeah, just, you have to find whatever your thing is to kind of chill out. And like you mentioned, paintball. If it's that your thing is paintball, go play paintball. Do whatever, just to get your mind off the business for a bit. That's what you need to give your mind a break on it, and a
Move
body
from
too.
I've moved from paintball to the real stuff now, so I can't go as much because that price tag is just a little different.
Yeah. My son's in airsoft right now. I have one's in paintball and one's in
Yes.
airsoft. So yeah.
Oh, do you really? Oh
Yep.
man. Well, no, that's a good transition point too. I was wanting to get into tournaments with the airsoft.
Mhm.
Towards the end of me being in paintball because some friends had got into it. This has been golly a long time ago. And yeah, I didn't realize even now that it's kind of like a little cult thing out there
Mhm.
where, I mean, just like paintball, you can get all decked out, be SWAT if you want to, or go in those
Yeah.
big warehouses and stuff. Good
Yep.
on them, man. I bet that's a fun filled household over there. I
Yeah,
bet
it is.
that sounds fun.
When I get off this podcast, I'm going to go try to fix this gun. My one son's gun that wasn't working the other day, and he's actually in a
Oh,
tournament on Saturday. So I'm like,
getting out of
all right.
town. That's great, man. Give him kudos from the Lone Star. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So but it is one of those things. You have to find whatever works for you to get your mind off it. Paintball, airsoft, go
True.
shooting, whatever it is, driving, snowboarding, whatever it is, find something just to give your mind a break. I guarantee you'll start changing your perspective on everything that you're doing.
So a bit more on the scarier side, and I'm asking you this for me and for my listener, because I know they're thinking that, 'cause I know I am. Aside from the passion, aside from that kind of stuff, aside from the ushy gushy stuff, like, I mean, technically, is there times where it's like, guys, I would recommend that you just need to close shop, or guys, you need to just keep pushing a little bit harder. I'm looking at the numbers from what you're telling me. You just need to push a little bit because, I mean, there are times. I mean, you had to close up shop. I think yours was more because of appropriating passion to what you really want to do, but numbers wise or market wise or the area you're in, I mean, is there times that it's just simply time to go ahead and wrap and go get a job for a while? I mean, what's your perception on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. A couple things that I think is like to me is very important would be if it whatever you're doing right now is really ruining a relationship. If you're on the brink of getting divorced, or that you're having issues with your children or whatever it
Mhm.
is, and it's just driving to that point, like it's hurting your relationship with your family. To me, it's something that you really need to consider making some drastic changes, or closing up shop. I think that's one of the things,
Gotcha.
because to me it's not worth ruining a family relationship over a business. My
Okay.
thought, my opinion. The other thing is really looking at your numbers. And I'm a huge numbers guy, but you have to understand some of those numbers and looking at where you're at. How much, what your accounts receivable are. You owed money from a year ago, 90 days ago, whatever it is. Looking at that and looking where you're at as far as debt. If you've been purchasing all kinds of equipment and you just not making the payments on it, unfortunately, it may be at the point you have to, file bankruptcy and close up shop. It just might be a better situation for you in the end. But those are the biggest thing. It's really looking at your numbers, looking at, um, do you have the sales coming in? Do you have the leads coming in? Do you have people to help you do what you need to do if you're at that point? um, and looking at your bank account, what do you have if you don't have anything, and how much is owed to you, and do you have the passion to make that change? If you don't
Okay.
have that passion, then you're not going to.
Man, well, gosh, that's good. I remember one of the points when my partner and I were still together and we were just on the eve of splitting up. We had a commercial client. We're a small business. I mean, we at the time I think the most we ever did was up up around half mil or something like that. Gross margin 2%, right?
Mhm.
But we had a client, a commercial client that it was a big one. They were half of our business almost. I'd say probably third of our business. Let's just say that. And I don't know how we let it, but going back to the knowing your numbers, who owes you money, staying on top of that kind of stuff. Oh man, somehow we let this account let them go about a year and some change. And okay, we have some missing invoices here. We know it's been sent, but they wrote us a check here, so we'll just give them some grace.
Mhm.
Back and forth, big account. You don't really want to disturb the water, right? That whole scary thing. Scott, man, it got to a point where I checked with my buddy and I'm like, hey, where are we at on this? And it was darn near close to $50,000. And for us, that's a small operation. That's basically our profit that we're making off of them. And because they were about a quarter million, 150,000, 175 some years client. So they were chunky to us.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're running a what 10% margin on that client, or that's hopefully a 20% margin on that client, knowing your numbers,
Yep.
you're basically financing them.
Yep.
you're financing your service to them because all the profit was gone. So at that point, man, what you said, knowing your numbers, keeping track on it, and just so there's ways around it. You can get creative. So then I found out, hey, other people in the business owed us money too, but we were doing much bigger projects for them where you actually had overhead monies of materials involved with this stuff. And so they owed us a bunch. And so we got to do something. And that's when I realized. So we finally, it took us a year to get all of it back finally. And we kind of salvaged somewhat the relationship of when he and I split. Um, I just said, no, we're done. We might have allowed this, but that tells me too, you're not on top of your books either. And you're not paying
Yeah.
your people. So I can only imagine what the other contractors are doing, anyways.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I agree with you. I'm saying that I agree with you. That actually happened to me. And that was one of the times I was thinking about closing up shop, man.
Well, and it's easy thing to do, especially if you're a smaller operation and one or two people in it. It's easy to forget about the accounts receivable and who owes you. It's just because you get busy working and you just I'll get that tomorrow. I'll get that tomorrow, and you keep pushing off. And just in my experience, and I'm sure you can relate to this, the further you push it off, the harder it is going to be to collect that money, or the chance of getting all that money just keeps going down, down, down. So it's one of those things that you have to stay on it. And I don't care what size of business, if you're a solo entrepreneur or you have 50 employees, 100 employees, you have to stay on those types of things and stay on top and getting your money when you're owed.
No, I completely agree. And that will, but see, with that, and I mean, that alone, if you're in a bad situation, you're like me, chucking the minivan, starting up, and you're working, you're missing time with your family, and you're giving up your social life, and all you're doing is working, and then you're looking at this, full red page of invoices that is owed to you. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
But then it kind of goes back to the passion. No, I'm going to push. I'm going to see. I'm going to find out, and before you know it, you can recover all that, get rid of those people, and then move on and keep pushing on. But no, I could see, and I wanted to ask a second ago about technically, hey, there is times to wrap up. And maybe for me, there was times I should have just wrapped up, but I had that passion. And maybe the passion just kept pushing to say, okay, it went above and beyond what the numbers were saying that I should do. But I'm like, no, we're going to hang in there. Even if I'm the last pirate on the ship slashing.
Yeah.
And sometimes I still took over the fleet eventually, so I
Yeah.
don't, whatever.
Oh yeah.
But
I think the other thing is, you need to look at your business. Are you running it with your business with your heart or with your head? And if you're just running it through your heart, like, we'll get through it, and not using your head and not looking at the numbers and really taking a good analytical look at your business and where you're at financially, the numbers don't lie. They're black and white. They are what they are. And if you are running your business with your heart and, just to me, if you're one of those people that are just taking the materials and multiplying by 2 or 3 and just hoping it's going to work out. Yeah, you'll win some on this job, but you'll lose some on this one. And it doesn't always even out. And that's where people, I think, get in trouble if they run it with their heart and not their head. And I really encourage you to, if you're out there and you're at that point, to reach out to people, learn your numbers, learn what you need to do, and learn how to collect those payments and keep your cash flow coming. And you can start seeing a change in your business if you just start doing some of those basic things. But if
again,
you're, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you're probably going to say if you don't have that passion, you won't do it, and you'll probably just wind up walking away from it.
Yeah. Yeah. And this business is hard, and if you're at that point, I think it's time for you to, if you're in your mindset of like, I really need to shut down my business. A couple things, I guess, to me is obviously the passion, but sit down and do some reflection on your business. Where did you start? Where did you come from? Did you start in the minivan? Did you start with that little rototiller, of your mom's and going out doing things and look at where you're at now? And that might give you that motivation. That might give you that drive to keep pushing. Like, oh, I've done this, I've gone from here. Now I have a whole fleet of mowers. I have a whole fleet of trucks or whatever it is. That might get your passion going again and get you kind of rejuvenated and get you moving in the right direction.
Or like with a gentleman or service like yourself, you may not see any of that and you may not have it, but if you get with someone that just has an analytical view on it, they don't know you, they don't, know you outside of what you're showing them, and they're going to you for counsel and they're paying for mentorship. You may say, hey guys, you're not as bad as you think you are. If you just tweak here, you collect there, and you set a goal for this, you could find your way out of this mess. And this time next year, you're going to be 2x, 3x what you had been over the last 10 years. Or,
Yeah.
um, I mean, and that's why I think it's so great. Guys like yourself make a living doing this or putting this together, because for every one of you, there's 10,000 of other people who don't know, oh my gosh, we might have to close up,
Mhm.
and you probably really don't even have to. And if they're asking the right questions to people like you, and coaching calls and all that, it just may simply be, I'm not an expert in what you do, but if somebody in my community just sits down, we have lunch, they just kind of give me rough numbers and they're telling me I may see something that they never even realized. And it's like, don't do this. Let's meet back here in a month and let's see what happens, kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I think this industry is full of people, helpful people. I think this industry, like we talked about earlier with the different podcasters and social media, just reaching out to people, just asking them questions, that might be what you need to do. Um, we have our landscape business owners Facebook group, and we get people reaching out. We get them started an email list, and we talk to them, and I get people asking questions. I'm always willing to hop on and answer an email and help people out. And I can probably attest for most people in this industry, they'll help you. If you're struggling, reach out. I'm sure there's tons of different landscape associations and stuff. Reach out to those people and ask them. If you have somebody who says no, go to the next person. I don't give up that quick and easy. There's always people out there to help you.
Amen. I agree.
The other thing too is, if you at that point that you need to shut down your business, don't necessarily think of it as a failure. You didn't fail. It's maybe a hard lesson learned, uh, but you can take and learn from that knowledge, and you can start it up again. It's not like it's that's it. I'm done. I'm over, and I'm not going to go back, type of thing. You can always go back and start it up again at some point. Don't be afraid to throw in the towel and revamp and start over. If you look at any huge billionaire out there, Warren Buffett, I know he has started a business over, or had to shut down businesses. So it's not like it's always like, that's it, I'm a failure, I'm done, I'm over, I'm just going to go work for somebody else the rest of my life. If
Walt
you are
Disney,
an
he went
entrepreneur,
big. He went bankrupt five times
some,
before Disney parks actually kicked off it profitably,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. So yeah, don't be afraid, and don't think of it as a failure. Think of it, see what you can do to learn from it. That's the biggest thing. That to me is a huge thing. There is changing your mindset and looking at everything that you can do. What can I do to make it better? What can I learn from this lesson? To me, people a lot of times will point blame on somebody else or something in the industry or something. You are the captain of that ship. You are the one that's in charge. Yet you make the decisions, and it has to come back to you. Don't point. I mean, it could be outside factors. I'm not saying it isn't always, but you have to take a look at what you did and what can you do to make a change in it or make changes in the future. I think that's the biggest thing to me. I
Wow.
I kind of live my life that way, and it kind of annoys my wife, I guess, because I'm always asking, what could I have done better? What could I have done different? But
In fact, it's speaking of your wife, I was, when we first started talking, um, $1 Million Landscape podcast. I didn't realize, but I started listening to your channel some time ago, and I'm looking. I'm like, I know I've seen them, and I know I've done that, and I know I've listened to it. So I looked it up again, and sure enough, I have the little. I'm on Spotify, so I have all the little green checks on like 20 episodes up, and all of a sudden I quit, and you made a lot of content since then. And I'm like, man, I need to get back. So that's awesome. I was like, I knew it. So sorry,
yeah. Oh,
it's not that I quit listening and life happens, and now
oh.
I'm making my own junk, and I don't know. We'll see how this thing goes. But I thought it was funny. I'm like, I knew it, and so I looked it up while you were talking, and I'm like, sure enough, I thought that was
Yeah,
pretty
no,
neat.
we've been doing that. I think about 4 years now. I think we've been podcasting. I think,
That's
or
awesome,
right around
man.
4 years. So yeah, it's cool. We do one a week, and I enjoy it. It's fun. I love talking to people like yourself and others, and just I pick up information from people like yourself, and it's cool. I always take everything's a lesson. That's something my grandfather always told me. Everything's a lesson somewhere. So just learn from what everybody's doing and see what you can do to take it and use it for yourself, use it for inspiration for something or make improvements on it, whatever it is.
I was at an expo this year for the first time there in Louisville.
Uh-huh.
And you had a booth set up out there?
Not this year, last year I
Okay,
did.
so
This,
that's because I just saw a video of what you were
yeah.
putting up about it or something. And I'm like, did I not see him there? Because I was running through that place. So I was like, man, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was a cool thing. I loved doing that and just chatting with all the people. It was it was weird to me from the point of I had people coming up, oh, I listen to your podcast, and I don't think about it that way. It's like, oh, I learned so
True.
much or help me. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. I never really step back and look at it from their point of view. So
It's
I'm glad we're
fulfilling, man.
it
Yeah,
is.
it's
It is.
fulfilling because you're wanting to, you get into it with that mindset, but then
Mm,
like you're saying just a moment ago, you get lost in the technical side of
mm,
everything, making sure content's out on a regular, making sure the website and sales and all that. You lose it, and then when you have those cherries on the ice cream
mm.
poking you on the shoulder, saying, "Hey, wow," then you just kind of get jolted with a dose of reality, and that it's better than a paycheck, man. I'll
Yep.
tell you
Oh
what.
yeah. Oh yeah, no, I love doing this. I love helping people, no matter where they're at in their business. I find so much joy in it, and getting on coaching calls and talking to people and then helping them work through whatever situation. Just from my experiences or whatever I've dealt with or learned, it's an amazing, amazing feeling, and I like encourage anybody out there to help people. And I didn't do it at first. I didn't do it for a price. I just help people, and I'm just passionate about it. It's just kind of how I am and who I am. So
And of course, after a while, it's you got to start charging for it
yeah.
because I've heard before it's like people don't really they'll treat what they pay for differently than what they
Mhm.
receive for free,
Yeah.
and I kind of follow it, but at the same time, you need to be compensated for your time and for all the years of advice and everything. I mean, shoot, I mean, what's his name? Oh, what's that big speaker? What's his name? Charging $7,000-8,000 a conference for per ticket. Who is that? There's several of them out there.
There's like Grant Cardone or
He's one of
this.
okay. We'll just go
Yeah.
with that guy. So I was on YouTube here, gosh, following some of his stuff a little while back, and then just kind of on some of the feed there on the side, a guy said that my phone call with Grant Cardone and how much I spent. Let me go check. Let me click on that and let's see what that's all about. Brother man dropped $125,000 for an hour or two on the phone with Grant Cardone. And I'm like, dang.
Yeah, I couldn't even
So,
imagine.
bro, don't feel bad, putting these helpful courses. Because, see, that's the thing. That guy may have learned one thing in that $125,000
Yep.
conversation that might turn 10 million around for him in his real estate company.
Yep.
Someone here, our conversation, you have a coaching call, or they're paying their monthlies, and they're surrounding themselves with that network that you've set up, and they learn one or two things, and 2 years down the line they're nowhere near where they could have been if they
Mhm.
weren't listening. So I find value in that, and that's just something for me. And I actually made a podcast about that some time ago about appreciation, because we didn't have any of this. I mean,
Oh,
back in your prime, when doing it with when you were foreman and all that, we didn't
oh
have
no.
any of this stuff. And other than people giving you a stank eye at QT in the gas stations when you're kind of asking about their equipment and what they did, right?
Yep. No, and I remember like doing everything. There used to be I can't remember the name of the show. It used to be before Equip and everything was down in Louisville. It used to be up in Chicago at the McCormick Center up here, and I used to
I
go to
have
it
no
every year.
idea.
And I can't remember the name of it right now. But anyhow, I remember going to like every single course that they had just to try to learn and reaching out and just do whatever I can. And there's so much more available now. Like I said, just start researching, start reaching out to people and asking for help. If you're at that point, it's something that you're contemplating. Don't be afraid to reach
So
out.
much more on so many different levels. You got
Hmm,
your $100,000 consultants. Well, for businesses, I should say.
yeah,
If you make 100,000 a year, if you make $1 million a year gross, if
mhm,
your business is doing 10 a year, 100 million a year, there's people now that
Mhm.
has fed into all this that can probably help you out of whatever situation that you're
Oh yeah.
in. I mean,
Like
and
we see console years ago. We actually hired a consultant to come in. He wasn't a landscape industry consultant. He was a business consultant, and we hired them, and they came in. I don't remember exactly, but like towards the end of the summer. So we had them work for a few months. We asked them to pause what they're doing for the wintertime because here in Indiana it snows and we weren't sure what the revenue was going to bring. So we asked them to pause it. And at that point, we paid them like 20 some $1,000. We came springtime and we called them up. Nobody answered the phone. Nobody answered the phone. Found out they went out of business themselves.
he
So
didn't know his numbers.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I'm like,
I'm sick.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. My dad and I were furious. Like, we looked at you to help us out, and I don't even know what happened. Maybe they took the money and ran. I don't even know. But we're
Did you
like,
get
you got to
anything
be
out of
kidding.
that at least? Did you
Nope.
get some? No.
I mean, we got stuff like what we learned. Yeah, we learned a lot. And
I guess that's all you can really hold on to then, huh?
yeah, but it's just like, holy
Jeez,
cow! Like, come on.
that sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
We can
Well, that's I
chuckle and
think
laugh now, but then
Well,
I'm
and I
sure you're
think
much
that's
better then.
why I want to make it affordable to everybody. That's why we try to make our academy affordable, just because I don't want you to be in that same circumstance that we had, and um, just it gives to me it goes back to there's always somebody out there that can help you no matter what. So if you're at that point, I think in your business that you're really contemplating shutting down, reach out to somebody personally. Reach out to me. I'm sure Andrew would care just to chat with you and give you some
Yeah,
ideas from
so
his experience. Um, and anybody out there will at least chat with you and talk to you. So I encourage you to do that if you're at that point.
Scott, real quickly, for my listener, if you don't mind, on when I put this on my channel, do you mind just giving a quick kind of rundown of your academy and
Sure.
what your services are to offer? I want to plug you in that way on there. See if kind of put your pricing out there, kind of the
Sure.
schematics of everything, how long you've been doing it. Mike's yours for a few minutes, man. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. So we offer like a coaching program where we have online courses that we teach everything from knowing your numbers and to all about hiring, training, and retaining your employees. We have stuff on system procedures and stuff on marketing and sales inside this academy, and it's all available right now. The pricing is $99. It's actually going to go up this year. We sat down and went through our numbers. We're going to have to raise our rates this year. Nothing crazy, but we are going to raise our rates. So right now it's currently $99 for the basic level. You get in there and I don't even remember how many hours. There's a ton of different courses. There's like over 45 courses, and they're all broke
Wow.
down into individual courses. We break it down very simple for you. We give you done for you spreadsheets, calculators. So if you want to know your pricing, basically you just got to put in what you pay for monthly for your overhead, what you pay for your equipment, and it's going to tell you what you need to do. And then we actually have a whole estimating system based on that to help recover that overhead and
Wow.
make sure you're charging enough. That's like the biggest thing people come to us for is to figure out their numbers. And then we have done for you procedures. So if you're at the point in your business, you need to start adding those procedures and checklists. We have stuff that we had in our business. We've, are basically giving it to you. And that's all, again, available for $99 a month. Now, if you want some more one-on-one coaching and more assistance to kind of get it done a little bit quicker or make sure everything's done right,
That comes a la
our
carte pretty much.
yeah, our next level is $299. Again, that's going to go up to $349 at the beginning of the year, but it's $299 a month, and you get all that stuff. You get group coaching calls every single week. Um, there's a live one-on-one coaching call, 90-minute coaching call with me every month, and then a accountability meeting too. So there's plenty of opportunities to speak to me and pick my brain and see if we can help you out any way. But
So I guess I'll get this check out to one of my friends. No, I'll get this check out to your PO box there. Don't let me forget. I'm stealing an hour from you.
no. That's why we do the podcast, because I want to help out and share. And then there's stuff that we say here that it's in our
There's no need to
our
go
academy.
outside.
But no, I
That's awesome.
appreciate
Well,
you
I
letting me share
appreciate
that.
you. No, yeah, absolutely. I find a lot of value in stuff like that because, I mean, there's just a handful of guys that are making it with quality, something like that, and just from what you've already described, sounds pretty legit. I know with my interactions just on the podcasting side, I've already, just in our 2 or 3 conversations, I've already learned some cool tips and tricks from scheduling and a new video system here. I've already learned a lot, So I mean, that's really. But I've always found value. It's like, I just have to say it, when people start preaching about costs and their product and stuff like that. Oh, there they go trying to. No, it's not. If you spent in 6 months, $500 or so on a monthly deal, and you learned something that brought you in from yourself, or from whoever, one of the modules that you've put up there, and you turned a section of your business around, and you've made yourself just $2, $3, $4,000 off of that. I mean, you've already 5x your investment without even realizing it. So that's how I see it. You always got to spend a buck to make a buck, but for me, I'm only going to spend a buck if I can make 10, right?
Yep.
Classic businessman. And that's exactly what a product driven from experience like this does. So I'm always encouraging my listener to not just write something like that off,
Well, like, if you just even go back to the numbers course, if you went out and actually went to some of these other bigger consultants, and not knocking them, they do an amazing job. I learned from some of the stuff, but their price is up there, and we try to make it affordable for the same type of product. So, but no, it's a great product, a great community of landscapers in there.
Awesome.
So there's always people to reach out to. So when we get on these group coaching calls, you're not just listening to me the whole time. You have other members on there that, share ideas, what's working for them, employing, what's working for them for marketing. People ask skidster tires, what kind of skidster tires you're running, whatever. So there's a lot of great stuff in there, but no, it's an awesome program. I encourage you at least check it out. It's $1,000,000landscaper.com. Check it out.
And I'll have that in the show notes and on mine that you can hyperlink and find out what Scott and his operations is all about, a little further. And so we'll have that there too. I just wanted you to spend a couple seconds kind of telling about, what your investment is now in the season of life with coaching. And I just think that's really, really cool. I want to ask you one more question. It's kind of a little hardball question right here. What do you think your education really preaches to? Is it to like the $250,000 business guys that are $100,000 $1 million companies, or is it something kind of universal everybody can plug it into?
It's universal. We have people in there that are literally just getting started. We have people, actually 2 of them are from down in Texas area. That one's 16 years.
Keep talking.
Yeah, one's 16 years old, one's 19 years old.
Oh wow!
So they're just getting started. The 16-year-old actually started his business when he was 11. Started mowing, and I was just on a coaching call with him yesterday. He does an amazing job. I'm like, man, I need to get your drive and put it in my kids, because he's doing really well. So hats off to him. But no, we have people that are just getting started to people that are doing multi-million-dollars in business a year. One of the other customers that's of ours, we just worked on a project. He's bidding out $1 million field. So I worked with him on getting that all nailed down. So we have people in multiple different ranges. If you start getting, honestly, in the $10 million, I'm not your guy, but if you're just getting started and you want to learn your numbers, we can definitely get you there.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you answering that. I really do. So that's cool, man. Well, I appreciate it. This has been an awesome talk, man. I really, really enjoyed this. And I have to apologize to you too, as one of the greats out there, Paul Jameson of the green industry would say, excellence in broadcasting. I'm that guy that had to, I'm sorry. I was late and I stood you up the first time, man. It's a good old tumbleweed down here, Lone Star. I'm just going to tell you. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you getting back on with me and having a quality sit down, when you probably didn't have to. You got a lot of other things going.
So. Oh yeah, no, I love doing this. Andrew, you mind just sharing a little bit to our listeners, a little bit about your podcast, what it's all about, what you kind of discuss?
Absolutely. So this is all I do. I don't have an education program or anything like that right now. I just get on and yammer what I tell, what experiences, just like now, like our conversation. It's on all major platforms. I'm a listener of podcasts, occasionally on the Apple podcast. That's the only place you can leave ratings and reviews, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's the same thing, just my experiences. I interview other professionals, much like yourself, that has, their tenure's a lot more than myself. because I'm always going to be a student. I always like learning. And if I do, I know that somebody else out there does. I do it for socializing. When I go to these live events, I get to meet cool people that we've already had relationships with, over the sound waves and, on Instagram, things like that. But that's what I do. It's just very simple. It's entertaining. It has education to it. I get on, like I said, I'll try to get on a handful of guests. I'm on 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And nice little end of the week spiel there. And in a nutshell, that's what we're all about. I have an Instagram page as well, both on my business, which is Southern Sons Landscape. You can find me at, and Lone Star Lawn Talk. I'm on Instagram, so you can kind of follow me on both of those. But that's what my podcast is all about. Just the same thing that we did here today. Just talk about hot topics of the industry, entrepreneurship in general, life, and just meeting people.
Awesome. You guys go check out the Lone Star Lawn Talk podcast. It's an amazing show.
Appreciate
He
that.
has
Thank
some
you.
amazing guests on there. I'm a little jealous of some of the guests he's had on there. So him and I have talked about this.
Oh
So,
man, that's awesome. Yeah.
So.
No, thanks for letting me plug that there. And I'll get back to next time we get on here. I'll have a lot more shoot back at you, and I'll be picking up more of your show here as well. I just got a kick out of that. I'm like, man, I know I was, even when we first talked and I saw you there through the Instagram feed. I'm like, I want to get him on. He's got a lot of, when I first saw you on the live, that's what I saw. I'm like, oh, let me see what this guy has to say. So I got on there, and then I already right in on it. Hey, I got to get you on the podcast, man. And sure enough, I did like a score of your shows already, and I didn't realize that must have been a little while back. Anyways, I'm a
That's all right. That's all right. Well, again, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate you being on here today. You got a moment for a few fun questions here?
Absolutely. You betcha. Fire away.
All right. Would you rather be able to erase people's memory or predict their future?
Oh man. I mean, do they directly know me? So that kind of that'll dictate whether I want them to forget about the past or
you can pick.
I would say probably delete their memory, just because everything that we've talked about, that kind of gives them new insight on their life ahead. Kind of gives them a fresh start, I should say. That makes sense.
All right. What do you value most in your friends?
Really the sociability with them, because I only have a couple core friends that I see on a regular. I can learn from them. I'm able to go to them with different things, both in life and business, and I can expect a genuine response, whether it's what I want to hear or not. So support, I guess.
Nice. I like that. That's when you know you have true friends, when they'll tell you they won't hold back any BS.
There's a scripture verse in the good book about that, and I wish I was astute enough to just let it roll off my tongue, and I don't. So there you go, ladies and gents. So much so the Bible even said
that. There you go. That works. All right. Last one. What are you currently curious about?
Ooh.
What are you searching on Google or looking up?
Oh man, I watch a lot of random stuff. I usually get on Google anymore, either for research on what I'm already looking at, or I'll get on YouTube and just let my brain fry out for a little while. So, I would say about probably ancient comparisons of ancient and current, dare I say, religion. I'm Christian, and I'm kind of into, what things were said and done 2,000-3,000 years ago, what's recorded, and kind of what's happening in modern times, kind of, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And kind of get wigged out on people real quick there, huh? And that's kind of what I'm curious about. Sure. I would say, just kind of see how it's unfolding now, what it could unfold in the future, different dynamics of spirituality meets, fleshly bodies, and just the whole of everything. I guess that's what I'm curious about. I know how to cut grass, so I kind of stopped watching long cutting tall grass films a while back. So.
Yeah, they're all over the place now. Well, Andrew, this has been a great conversation. I enjoyed having you on. We'll definitely have to have you back on in the future. And hopefully we can continue chatting off, not even when we're on the podcast. It's been awesome and love
Absolutely.
throwing ideas to one
Absolutely.
another.
For sure. No, this has been, like I said, this has been a genuine experience. One of those experiences that we start all this for. Link
Mhm.
up, make the network a lot stronger.
Yep.
And before you jump off from my side for ours, can I ask you a couple different
Absolutely.
questions?
Absolutely.
My listener would already know what I'm about to ask you as a new guest on the show. I'm always asking these three questions, and
Okay.
this is the part where I call it getting to know the softer side of the lawn care professional. So we already kind of know, you gave us the opportunity to look in what you've done and address these, important questions over that's been accumulated over the years from different professionals, both in and out of the green industry, and have kind of told us about where you're at in this season of life. But I want to shine a spotlight on Scott himself as a person. And I want to start it off by, what is your favorite cuisine, sir? What would be your last meal?
My last meal. I'm a I'm a big steak guy. I like having a good steak. I have a green egg. I love cooking in that, and
Yes.
a
Oh
little
no, we're
slow
definitely going
cook.
to stay talking for a while, even on the lawn care stuff.
So yeah, I would have to have steak, and I'm pretty low key, but steak and a baked potato, I can do that all day.
My friend, you
I,
belong in Texas.
I mean, Mexican food is right there too, but I would say a steak is probably my last meal.
Gotcha. So, second one. What's your favorite cinema? What's your favorite feature series? Any particular kind of favorite TV show? Anything like that? I know. With the name $1 Million Landscape Podcast, you probably spend a lot of times doing real grown up things. But if you
Uh,
had to, what would be your favorite film of any kind?
um, well, I actually just got done. Well, not just got done. It was a little while ago, but I just finished up Breaking Bad. I really liked that show. That was pretty cool.
Interesting,
Yeah. Uh,
interesting
I
show.
yeah, I watched that one all the way through. I don't get into a whole lot of ones, but I did stay with that one. That was one that just pulled me in and kept me intrigued. We're doing Stranger Things too with kind of a family one. We'll sit down as a family and watch that one together. But
Mhm.
for me personally, this Breaking Bad was
Breaking
good.
Bad. That's a very intriguing show. No, I
Yeah.
agree with you. I followed it for most of the seasons, and then I don't know. I think it's probably some. I don't know when I stopped watching it, but I think I finally finished all of it out
Mhm.
over time. But I was with you. I watched it for, I don't know, 4 or 5 seasons in a row. If it had that many, I can't remember. But then I
Nice.
kind of dwindled off of it after a while. But no, it's good. I agree.
Yep.
That's a good series.
Yeah.
Last thing, and probably one of the more important ones, what is something memorable, something that has stuck with you through life, maybe something that's been said to you, a memory, or maybe something that you've told someone, just a memorable moment or a saying that you've kind of held with you in your years here on this planet Earth.
Something my grandfather always told me, and it's probably not the best thing to say, but it was always don't half-ass anything. Put your whole
Best
heart
thing
into
to say in a
everything.
day like today. Come on.
Yeah. And that's something I always instill into my children is, we're our last name is Mulchan. We're Mulchans. We don't half-ass anything. We put everything in. We put our full ass in everything that we do, and
That's
try to
awesome.
give it our all. So that's something that's always stuck with me. Something my grandfather told me, and that, sometimes I probably take it too far, I guess. But I always want things to be perfect, but I have to step back sometimes. But that's something that's always stuck with me, and I think it's an important life lesson. Is this don't give up too early. Stay with it and stick with the course and put your whole heart into it.
Well, I think you'd agree with me that we need more of mentalities of your granddad in a era and a day like today. I completely agree with that saying. That's a good saying. It's a good
Yep.
memory to have. Well, that wraps it for me, man. I appreciate you letting me um, kind of split that up with you there and got to know
Yeah.
each other on that and give some good advice to both of our listeners there. And I just think that this is going to be a kickoff to a great friendship, man. I appreciate you. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
No, I
Thanks for letting
appreciate
me
your
be on your
time.
show.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. I definitely appreciate you. I know you've been working all day, and I know you got to go home or go chill out and relax and do whatever, get your next day ready. But I appreciate you taking the time to be on today. And yeah, this is going to be a great start to a relationship, I think, when we'll continue talking.
Same, brother. All right now.
All righty, man. You have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.
That'll work. Yes, sir.